Deputy Chief Dlamini says the only route for Gubis is to go through you as the gateway. Suddenly you start getting a series of calls from Mgcina who you say you don't know. Can you comment on that?
Chair, I had direct communications with Mr. Calvin Mahlangu. As far as I'm concerned, Mr. Calvin Mahlangu is the director of the company. If Mr. Mgcina gives me a call, it's something completely unrelated. Hence, we have a light moment with Sergeant Nkosi that, look at your friend, he's giving me, he's constantly calling me. I don't know what he's looking for. I mean, he's your friend, he's not my friend.
But one of those, or two of those calls actually seem to have succeeded. If we look at the call log on page 179, it says
Yes.
Mgcina 2, 1933.
Yes.
What did Mr. Mgcina speak to you about?
He was asking me if we could have a meeting or if we could meet for coffee or a drink.
And did he explain what it was about?
No, it was just him saying we had met earlier on in the year at that restaurant that we did as per my affidavit. We haven't had a discussion since. Could we possibly meet?
So, out of the blue, shortly after Gubis are told that the only gateway is you, you get two unprecedented calls from Mgcina.
Which is exactly why I sent the screenshot to Sergeant Nkosi. It was out of the blue for me as well. Had there been an issue on the outstanding Gubis payment, Mr. Calvin Mahlangu had direct contact details of mine. He would have called me on that. That's a pure reason why we even had a light moment of this matter. It was purely out of the blue for me.
Yeah, Mgcina has contact details for you too, because he called you on WhatsApp audio.
Yes, remember, SC, I did give in my evidence that we met at a restaurant, we had some pleasantries, we exchanged numbers.
All right, let's go back to the third case where El Shaddai and Ngapeshe are mentioned to you. That is on page 157. It's the 25th of March. And you'll see that from 8:01 in the morning through to 8:02, there are 3 calls from you to Sergeant Nkosi, after which he responds yet again with El Shaddai Security Services and Ngapeshe Security Services. You see that?
I see that.
And you have said that you still think that he was asking you to check on compliance.
Not on those calls. The reason he sends me these is him asking me to check compliance. But the reason for the calls, Chair, was general matters that we'd always discuss on a daily basis.
So when you get the 2 names out of the blue at 8:12 in the morning, that's not something that you've discussed in the calls.
Remember, this is not out of the blue for me anymore, Chair. We've seen this pop up at 1:48, and we've seen this pop up again on 1:52. It's not out of the blue. I know exactly what he wants, and it's his way of reminding me.
Yes, but on your version, you've told him twice already that this is not ever going to be possible. You can't do it.
Yes, that's true.
He doesn't seem to get your message, does he?
Hence I say, Chair, at this point I started to understand as well that he's not saying it in general terms, I see, but obviously he's still touting for the matter to proceed.
A few hours later, you say, can we meet at Jean Avenue at about 4?
Yes.
And he says, super, yes. And then you say, please bring General Mfowethu.
Yes.
He says, sharp Mfowethu over the page at 158. That meeting presumably took place because if we look at page 158, at message time 2:08 p.m., which would be 4:08 p.m., you say, I've arrived, please let me know when you get here. And at 2:11, which is 4:11, Sergeant Nkosi says, I'm here. So the meeting did take place.
The meeting with Sergeant Nkosi did take place. However, the general was not there. Hence, I need to take you back to 178. This is still on the same day. The general did not attend that meeting. He was committed on other matters that I'm not aware of. On the same day, on the 27th, he then gives feedback on that outstanding matter. He was not present at that day, he couldn't make it.
So he couldn't make it?
Yes.
So why did you want him there?
This issue of the outstanding payment was persisting.
So it was still just about the one outstanding payment to Gubis?
Spot on.
And you wanted a meeting with Sergeant Nkosi and the General?
Well, with the General.
So why was it necessary for Sergeant Nkosi to be there?
At this point, I did mention that it was the hindsight view of mine, where I should have obviously gotten the General's number at this point, but it was still necessary because we're still resolving that outstanding matter.
Can I just find out, if at this point you're still resolving the outstanding matter, why are you speaking to General Dlamini about it when you have said, you've explained to us there is a process which starts with APPS, I think, and then you've said SCM, and then eventually it will get to you, but somewhere there is peace. Why are you not following that process that you've described? Why are you talking directly to Dlamini when in fact he hasn't yet presented to you what you said there has to be evidence so that you can also justify your decision eventually?
Purpose of
Why
that.
are you not insisting on that process being followed?
Chair, I'm a person who wants to further escalations or litigations. So it will be clear for us to be fully aware of the position of the city. And the position must be clear. Are we able to process this? Are we not able to process this? So that we're able to speak in one voice in the event that service provider decides to escalate it to me. There needs to be one voice that we speak into as a result of the fact that we have at hand.
Let me say what it looks like to me. It looks like you have a process as you've described it, but you were content with dealing with this matter without following that process, because you on your own account, you start off by getting a call from Gubis. I think you say, Mr. Mahlangu, you're in the car with Sergeant Nkosi. And then it involves General Dlamini. You describe to us a process, but nowhere is there evidence of that process being followed. You keep speaking to General Dlamini and Sergeant Nkosi about this. So on your own account, you are not following that process that you say is necessary in order to resolve these issues, which ultimately comes to you because you must resolve it eventually. You're the gateway finally, but you're not following that process consistently. You're not following the process. You're speaking to Dlamini and Nkosi, both of whom are not the instrument to resolve the issue, especially Nkosi because he doesn't belong here. But on your own process, Dlamini is not the one that resolves the issue. It still has to go to SCM and then come to you. Can you just explain that?
Respectfully, Commissioner, I don't agree with that. I'm an individual who follows up with all inquiries from end to end, even if it's a resident raising an issue on an account. Once that issue is being raised, I do make follow-ups with my colleagues. There was this issue that was raised by servants of a household in reference to a billing issue. Have you resolved that now? Even though I had formally escalated the matter for them to deal with procedurally. There are time frames. You can't leave issues hanging forever. The city gets overtaken by events because a lot happens on a day-to-day basis. Same in this instance. The purpose of this was for me to get feedback from the general in terms of what's happening. We can't just ignore this thing. I'm not breaching any processes. I'm dealing with the general, who is part and parcel of the process. So what I would have expected from here was the clarity that he sends, I think on 177, where he then sends the, no, not 170, 178, where he then gives that feedback. That was the purpose of that. So I was still following our own procedures and protocols, and it's normal for me to get feedback on the process towards resolving matter from our colleagues.
I accept that at 178 he gives you feedback, and I'm happy you say that. But this feedback that he gives you at 178, it's clear from it that it's not followed the process that you have described to us. And yet you don't say to him in response, you don't say to him, follow the process. In fact, you accept when he says, I've directed them to you, which is where they started. You say, you're right, that's the process. And that's a part that I don't understand, and or in fact that I'm putting to you, seems to be inconsistent with your own process that you have described. And I'm battling to understand or to see that you are not involved in a way that undermines the very process that you've described needs to be followed.
So at this point, Commissioner, I can only deal with the colleagues that we have. And once they raise this, I need to accept that as the status quo, meaning the onus is now on the service provider to take the matter forward. Meaning I'm not breaching our processes because I'm not actively intervening. I was requesting for feedback, and that's normal in terms of resolving matters. Once colleagues who are within the city give me feedback, I accept that. And then the onus is on the service provider to take the matter on.
Yes, but you see, Dlamini says, I've told the service provider to go back to 482. That's a problem I have, that right now you say that the onus is on the service
Yes.
provider, and I accept that. They must submit the necessary documents. But here's what's happening internally. General Dlamini, you have said he must go and meet with them, right, in those WhatsApp exchanges where Sergeant Nkosi forwards to you where General Dlamini says, I need to know whether to meet with Goobies. You say, let him go meet them. He gives feedback. He says, I have met with them, and in my meeting with them, I've redirected them to the CFO. I've said they must meet with the CFO because that's where they started. You respond and you say, this is the way, much appreciated. So on your own handling of this matter, you don't say to Dlamini, tell the service provider to do our internal process, which is submit to you APPS, then it must go to SCM, and then it will come to me. You don't do that. You say to him, I agree with you that you have redirected them to me, which is where they started. I don't know what you're saying, the service provider, if indeed this was about payment, what you're saying the service provider must do now, because they started with you. And Dlamini tells them, go back to the CFO, and you say to Dlamini, I agree. And yet you're explaining to us now that, but the process is different and they were not following the process. I'm completely confused about your explanation if this was about payment.
Okay. Commissioner, this was about payment, firstly. Secondly, once I receive such communication, it means the matter has been fully ventilated. And I don't expect anything further. There's nothing further I can do except for wait for any form of communication that I will refer accordingly. When I say, thanks, this is the way, I'm sufficient and I'm happy with the explanation that I'm receiving from the Deputy Chief Dlamini. Meaning from his end, he has done what he can do. There's nothing else that he can do. Meaning if these guys want to take it further, they just need to refer the matter to me. He, at his stage at TMPD, is most likely saying, I've evaluated this matter. I don't see any probable case for payment. You can escalate this matter if you want. I then respond and say, okay, that's the way. Let's see what they have. Let them escalate and let them submit POE now.
Thank you, Mr. Mnisi.
So the purpose of this meeting, as I understand it, was to deal with the Goobies payment issue.
Yes.
And the critical player there would be General Dlamini or Deputy Chief Dlamini.
TMPD.
TMPD, yes.
Yes.
But he didn't come to the meeting.
He was not available.
So why did you and Sergeant Nkosi meet anyway?
We socialize all the time. We had a meal after that. It was a long day. We probably had lunch.
When did the General tell you that he wasn't going to come?
He didn't tell me. He told Sergeant Nkosi.
And you just met anyway?
No, we just met anyway and we had a meal.
Let's look at what I'm going to call him the General because that's how he's referred to in the papers. Let's look at what the General does later that evening. Can we go to page 176? Same bundle. So at 176, the last text on the page is a screenshot that Sergeant Nkosi sends you so at 8:31 p.m. and it's a screenshot that on its face comes from a message that the General sent to him at 8:02 that day. And it's a table that has tender number TMPD1, and then it's got a list of 7 companies on it. And at the bottom it says, Captain, nai mandate u Victor apiwe yona, from US. And helpfully underneath it, the Sergeant Nkosi has said, companies given to Victor by Nico. So, number of questions. We've established that US is the general. So this comes from the general. And the message says, Captain, this is the mandate that Victor received. Victor was given to Victor. Is that correct?
In terms of this message, yes, that's correct, Jesse.
Sorry?
You saying what must I confirm?
Look at the foot of that message.
Yes.
Captain, nai mandate u Victor apiwe yona.
Yes.
This is a mandate given
Yes.
to Victor.
Yes.
A mandate.
Yes.
In other words, something that Victor must act on.
This looks like it, yes, Jesse.
Yes, and we see below that the mandate was given by someone called Nico.
Yes.
So let's identify the players. Who is Victor?
Victor is a chairperson of this evaluation committee.
Victor Gopa.
Yes, that's him.
He is the chairperson of the BEC, and he's been given a mandate.
Of BEC, yes.
Yes. 7 companies.
Yes.
How did you understand this message?
I ignored this message.
No, that wasn't my question. How did you understand it?
I read the message. It said, Captain, nai mandate u Victor Piwayon. That's how I understood it.
So Victor has been given a mandate
Yes.
in relation to 7 companies and this tender.
Yes.
How I understand it is Victor has been given a mandate to make sure that these 7 companies get the tender.
Yes.
Is that how you understood it?
Well, Chair, I'm not going to comment on what that is because I can assure you now, I didn't even entertain this thing.
No,
Because
I accept that you didn't entertain it, but I want to understand, I want to know how you understood it.
This could have meant a number of things. It could have meant Victor must make sure companies are awarded, which he can't because he sits with committee of individuals. Secondly, it could have meant that Victor must check compliance. So it's difficult for me to give you an answer, Chair. I did not entertain this message from my
Sorry, Mr. Mnisi. The question is about how you
Yes.
understood it. It's not about several possibilities. How did you understand it? That's the question.
Yes, Commissioner. And my answer is I understood it within those probabilities, that it could mean a number of things. I didn't know what it meant, but it could mean those 2 probabilities. But I can't come to the Commission and expressly say, I understood this have meant that.
So as you read it,
I had options in my mind that this is
as
what...
you read it, you
Yes.
understood it possibly to mean one of those
Yes.
possibilities.
Yes.
Who is Nico?
I don't know who's Nico.
Sergeant Nkosi confirmed that Nico was Nico Matobela. Do you
Okay.
know Nico Matobela?
No, I don't know Nico.
You've never had any dealings with Nico Matobela?
I've never met him. I don't know him. I've
Is-
never had any dealings with him, SC.
Was there anyone called Nico Matobela who had any role to play in the award of this tender? Official role?
No, I'm not aware of any official by the name of Nico Matuela.
And you've said in relation to the message that you understood it to be capable of 2 meanings. One, Victor had been given a mandate to appoint these 7, and 2, Victor had been given a mandate to check compliance on these 7.
Yes.
Would either of those mandates given to Victor be lawful?
No, he can't. There's no way he could check compliance. Firstly, tender is closed. He could only, by law, give clarification on the outcomes of the bid. So let's know from a compliance perspective. Secondly, it's also no. He's not allowed to get names from external individuals to appoint.
Did you raise this with Victor?
No, Chair, I didn't raise it with him.
Why not?
Because my job was to ensure that I strengthen the process and ensure that there's no glitch within the award of TMPT 01. For me, this was a matter that I need to look out for and ensure that the process is even stringent.
Well, here you have the chair of the BEC, who you are being told has been given a mandate either to appoint 7 companies or to check compliance with 7 companies at a stage when it would not have been lawful to do so. Did you not think that it was appropriate to raise with Mr. Khopa whether this report of his mandate was true?
You see, firstly, Chair, me raising this with him would now have an element of me trying to find out what's going on within the PEC. Once I'm aware of such information, my role is to strengthen that process, and amongst others is to ensure that probity assessments that are done are completed accordingly, and that all information that is assessed, validated, is true and correct. It does give me a warning to be vigilant and to ensure that we strengthen this process, which is exactly what was done by referring the matter to probity for further assessments.
So although on its face, the message suggested at least a real possibility that Victor had been given a mandate to rig this tender, you didn't see fit to take this further in any city processes?
No, I did see to take it further, and me taking it further was insisting on probity to occur without fail.
But probity would have occurred come what may. This tender was above 20 million. You didn't have to play any role there.
No, Chair, remember, not all matters, even if it's after 20 million, automatically taken by probity team. Me was to emphasize there are reprioritizations that occur all the time. So it was essential for me to ensure that that probity assessment is not deviated at all costs.
But probity would not have attempts to interfere in the process. For example, and this is from your explanation of probity, of the probity process. Probity would not have picked up, for example, that Mr. Mnisi has been approached to do something, the WhatsApp that we looked at. Probity would not pick up that Sergeant Nkosi asked you to confirm compliance, and later on you suspect, in fact, he wanted you to influence the tender. Probity would not have picked up this mandate to Victor. So the answer can't be that, well, I insisted on probity and so all was covered. If the question is, what did you do? You are the CFO with some responsibility, yes, together with the city manager for your procurement processes, the integrity of your procurement processes. And when you are asked, you become aware that there are these attempts, including people being given mandates, allegations that people have been given mandates. If you ask the question, why did you not do did you do anything about it? The answer can't lie in probity, because probity looks, you said to us, I think on Friday, probity looks at all the tender documents, all the documents that were submitted, and then they make a determination whether the process was fair. So the answer must be something else, can't be probity.
Chair, that's the relevant answer. You know why I'm saying that? Because it would be in a position to check whether all compliance, administrative, mandatory, and all stages of procurement are followed to the T. Matters of this nature, from my perspective at this stage, I just need to be vigilant and be wary of them. So the process of probity is essential because it validates whether there's been any breach within the steps. Also, what's key, Chair, is that within the segregation of duties, before documents are transferred from point A to point B, they're always under lock and safe, and there's always individuals who are there signing off on handing over documents. So what would occur within that process would be something that would express for probity to ensure that this portfolio of evidence on what happened within that process.
Could probity have picked up that Sergeant Nkosi tried to influence you to do something about his brother's tender? Is that something that probity, outside of the tender documents that were submitted, just from your communication with Sergeant Nkosi, could the probity process have picked it up?
The answer is no to that.
Yes.
But can I please explain?
You can.
Probity would have picked up whether there was an actual tamper of those documents, whether there was actual influence. They would not have picked up an attempt. An attempt, it's not easy for them to pick up. But an actual tamper, it's easy for them to pick up. That's the process that they follow.
Yes. And the question was, and if it wasn't Mr. Chaskalson's question, then it's my question. It is, you become aware because you are directly approached to assist a tender, right? A particular tender or bidder. You become aware that your deputy mayor has been approached to assist. And for that matter, he says in a meeting, he says, I was in a meeting, so it's parties that are represented in the municipality that he says, I had a meeting with, and this is what they said. You become aware of that. You become aware that General Dlamini is involved with distributing lists of companies that are supposed to be favored, whether at the BEC level. You become aware that the chairperson of the BEC has been given mandates, at least that allegation. My question is, CFO, why do you do nothing about it? Not probity. Don't say to me, I know probity will pick it up. I'm asking you, CFO, because you and the city manager do have responsibility for the integrity of your procurement processes, the SCM, the whole process. You have responsibility for and accountability for it. Do you do anything about those attempts at external influence, influence? And if you don't, what is the reason for that?
Okay. So at this stage...
And I want to add the involvement of Sergeant Nkosi as well. You have a complete outsider who is involved in this, who has a personal relationship with you. You do absolutely nothing to discourage his involvement in affecting the tender or the procurement processes of the city. Can you just explain that?
So at this point, Chair, for me to raise anything further, I need to have evidence of gratification, inducement, or an acceptance by other party. That indeed, you do this for me, I'm going to get 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the sufficient appropriate evidence that I need to have at my disposal before I can even escalate a matter for further engagement. Because at that point in time, I would have had evidence that there is interest, and there's always interest in these matters. I would also have evidence that there's been an agreement, and there's a form of gratification and inducement that has been advanced by any other parties. So without that, at this point in time, my role is to strengthen the processes and to ensure that everything is followed to the T, and that property is aware of ensuring that all matters of the stages of procurement are adhered to. So the reason I don't do that, there's no evidence of inducement, nor is there any evidence of gratification. It would render my case a case of strengthen your controls. Even if I were to raise that, it would be, you need to ensure that the processes are stringent and strengthened at this stage in time. We don't have sufficient evidence to really take the matter forward.
Thank you.
Chair, we've reached 1:05. I have a long way to go on this topic.